Okay, last little bit. So we have to, first of all, find the equations of these lines and then kind of talk about, well, when does it work, right? Like when do we use each line? Okay, so let's look at this line first. I'm gonna do this one in orange. So again, I'll do it like this. Here we go. Okay, so y equals, so the slope, right? So we're looking at, it's going like from here down to here. Down one to the right one, down one to the right one, down one to the right one. So that's negative 1x. And then where is it crossing the y-axis? It's crossing the y-axis at 0, right? So we don't need that plus 0. We can just say that y equals negative x. Okay, so f of x, there's going to be a couple different, there's two lines, so we're going to have two different requirements. So it's going to be negative x if, right, x is less than 4. Okay, this is where our line changes, right? This is where our function is like, okay, if you're to the left of me, you're on this line. If you're to the right of me, you're on this line. So if x is less than 4, we use that orange line. Okay, but now we have to figure out, well, what would be the equation of this second line right here? Okay, so the slope is down one to the right one, down one to the right one, down one to the right one. So that's negative x. Okay, but where would it cross the y-axis is what we have to figure out. So you could, right, do point slope and plug it in and do all that to try to find b. For me, if I know that it's just gonna go down one to the right one, I could kind of like back it up like hypothetically, right? It's gonna cross at 1. I think that's easier. Negative x plus 1. And that works when x is greater than, and then it has the closed in circle, or equal to positive 4, right? If I put in positive 4, then I would do negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. If I put in a 5, negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. If I put in a 6, negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Okay, on the next one, we have 3 lines, right? So f of x equals, and there's going to be 3 different requirements. There's 3 different lines. So the first one is this little guy right here. Okay, so let's look. It's sitting on, this is the point, negative 2, 1. So what it's saying is that if it's horizontal, remember that all that means is that that's on 1, and if x is less than or equal to negative 2, right? It's a closed-in dot. So if your x value is negative 2, it's going to sit on this line of just y equals 1. Okay, so that's our first part. Then our second part, let's look at this line. It has a slope of rise 1, 2, 3, 4, run 2, or rise 2, run 1. So that's 2x, and then it crosses this y-axis at 0. So I don't even need to write it, it's just plus 0. And let's look at the x values. This is negative 2, this x value is 0, right? And so I know that it's in between negative 2 and 0. This is an open circle, so it's less than. This is closed, so it's going to have that equal to on it. And then the very last one, let's find the equation. We're going down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. So that's negative 1/2 x, and it crosses the y-axis at 2. So that would be the equation of the line, and we use this one if x is bigger than 0, right? This is where it starts. This point is 0, 2. So x was 0, right? This point here was 0, 0. X was 0. Negative 2, negative 4. X is negative 2. That's where we're getting those x values from. Okay, very last part. It says graph the step function and describe the domain and the range. So if we start with an x of 0, right, and it equals 0 or goes all the way to 3, the value of y is 1. So closed in dot, open dot, connected. Then if your x value equals 3, or goes up to 5, then it's 3. So closed, open, like this. And then in between 5 and 6, it goes to 4. And then the x value is 7 when you start on 6 and you go all the way to 12. Okay, and I think I forgot to talk domain and range, so I'll go back and do that. So the domain are what are my possible x values. My smallest x is 0, and it could equal 0, right? Because it's a closed-in circle. And it goes all the way up to 12, but it can't equal 12, right? It's an open circle, so it could be 11.99999. It could be anything that's less than 12, not including 12. And then the range are what are our possible y values. They are 1, 3, 4, and 7, right? They're just all of these right here. 1, 3, 4, and 7. So let's go back to the last page where I kind of skipped out on talking about domain and range. So my bad. Okay, on this first one right here. Okay, domain are what possible x values do you have? So we could start here at -1 and go like infinitely to the left, or we could start on -1 and go infinitely to the right. So my domain is all real numbers, right? It could be any x. We could put x is 1,000,000. Well, that's going to go with this function, right? Because it's greater than -1. We could put -1,000,000, and that's going to go on this first equation or first function because it's less than -1. So my domain is all real numbers. My range is what could your values of y be? So down here, my lowest value of y was -7. Every single y value is going to be greater than -7. If I drew these graphs forever and ever and ever, this line would keep going up, 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 up. This line would keep going up, up, up. Is anything y value ever going to be below -7? No, everything is going to be greater than or equal to -7. And then on this graph, again, my x's, my domain is all real numbers because no x is off limits. This one goes all the way to the left. This one goes all the way to the right. All of these in the middle are included. So there's no x's that are off limits. Okay, and then my range, is there like a minimum or a maximum? Right, remember when we graphed parabolas and there was like minimums and maximums for those parabolas? So like if I started down here, well, I know that there's going to be numbers underneath that because this -2x plus 4 is going to keep going down. Okay, this is horizontal. Is anything ever going to go above this y value of 2? No. So every y value has to be less than or equal to 2.